Thank you 1.2 GWS for having me here, and it's a pleasure to be here. And I'm here to share some of my knowledge and experience, what I gained over the last 15 years in analytics. And I lead applied intelligence and cognitive decision systems for a large global consulting and technology firm. I would not be able to disclose the name because the company is not officially sponsoring this event. The knowledge, the data points, some of the information, what I share in this session is purely based on my knowledge and experience, as well as some information which I gathered from, across different various sources which are publicly available. So I can share this deck with you. Just to start on the topic of unstructured data and how do we build intelligence from that. Am I audible? Are you audible? Okay, great. So how do we extract intelligence from the unstructured data? So it's a very, very interesting challenge actually to look at when we extract intelligence from unstructured data, very complex as well, but very emerging topic. So we'll start with this. I'm not going to talk more about the RPA side of it and the automation side of it, because we have a number of sessions which are coming specifically focusing on that theme. But here I would like to cover a bit of unstructured data and cognitive capabilities, how we can leverage this concepts, methodologies, tools, and technologies to build intelligence, right? So in the 17th and 18th century, we have seen the industrial revolution. Now today, we are in an intelligence revolution. And why this intelligence revolution is happening today, and some of the companies who are really making it happen is this new age companies, right, which are just born in the last 1.5 decades, right? So if you see one common characteristics of these whole companies, yes, these are all startups. Apart from that, the startup, tag, if you look at most of these companies are built on data, which is aggregated on a crowdsourcing model, right? So they leverage our own data, and we are the, contributors of their success in terms of data. And they really took the benefit of the data what they got in multiple format. And some of the companies are dealing in large volume of unstructured data, right? So some of this is an IBM published report in 2013 or 14. At that time, just want to take one example, right? The first fact, 2.9 million emails are sent every second. Means nearly 30 lakhs emails are going up and down, right? So emails are kind of a semi-structured data where the person, the name of the person, when it is sent, what is the ID, all those are very, very structured. But what the content of the body is very, very unstructured, right? So one example of a different type of a structured, unstructured or semi-structured data, which is coming at a velocity of 30 lakh emails a second, right? And how do we manage and how do we monitor, how do we build some intelligence for various purposes from that? It can range from customer service to, national security. I'll show you some examples here. How do we build intelligence from, just from an example of email, which is in the form of unstructured data, right? And who is really creating this whole unstructured big data? It is nothing but each one of us, right? And whether knowingly or unknowingly. This is a very good example of Adam Savage. When he went to office, it happened quite a long time back, I think 2012 or something like that. When he went to office, at that time he took a small selfie and then posted it in the Twitter, right? So you can see that post on the right. And he's telling, I'm off to work, right? And the whole thing is that because he took the photo from a smartphone, obviously the data is in an unstructured format because it's an image, right? And obviously he's putting a content of off to work, right? And then what happened actually, because the phone is smart, it captured all the data along with that picture. Which is the location, what time, and because the content he is putting into, it knows, somebody can figure out he's going to work, right? And based on the geotagging location, somebody can figure out what location he is into, right? And what time he starts to office, right? And what car he has. So think about just a picture, a tweet, which can give you so much of information. And if somebody wants to really leverage this unstructured data for multiple purposes, think about an advertiser who wants to provide some personalized, targeted advertisement in front of his house when he leaves and when he comes back from office. He can put a sign board there and then display an advertisement. If I'm a thief, I know exactly what time he goes to office and when he comes back, right? I can do, if I'm a thief, you can imagine what I can do with that kind of information, right? So this is how the whole data is getting created by us, knowingly or unknowingly, in the form of unstructured, unstructured data, and then people are going to really use it and leverage it, right? There are many, many examples. So this whole things are possible just because of, obviously because of the supercomputer we all hold, the smallest device, and obviously with the power of cloud computing. And the third one is in the social media. When I talk about social media, it is not just about Facebook and Twitter alone. There are millions of other, social channels and medias, right? I'll show you some examples how this is making an impact and difference. So when it is coming to cognitive, I just want to touch upon this and then we'll go back to the unstructured data, because we are going to live in a world of digital humans. You've already seen that Adam, how he's creating his own data points virtually available for somebody else, right? So, 3D printing, right? 3D printing. So, imagine a situation, if you can put the TPE, thermoplastic elastomer, into the 3D printing machines, and using the brain mapping technology, somebody can really map all my thinking, intentions, behaviors, emotions and sentiments, right? And infuse into a 3D printed model of mine into his brain, which has already happened, right? Last year we have seen Sophia. I don't know, last year or this year beginning. Sophia in the Saudi Arabia got the first citizenship, which is nothing but a reality, a different form of reality of this. Immortal human in the digital form, right? We are going to live in a world of digital humans, even if we die. So somebody can create hundreds of Philip Varughese. And even when I am live, somebody can create me exactly as I am and then infuse my cognitive aspects to that particular machine and then replicate and reproduce me, right? And we are going to live in a world which is going to create a lot of unstructured data, right? So just to give you some examples of this, or facts and figures of this unstructured data, one of the reasons why I just want to call this facts and figures here, in my experience, what I've seen is actually, okay, just my competitor is doing unstructured data, managing big data, RPA, cognitive, AI capabilities, let me do this. Okay, there is a trend which is published by Gartner saying that next year is the RPA wave, let me do something. Most of the time, the companies or the teams, in my experience, what I found is that they miss the purpose. Why we are doing this, right? What is the business outcome? What I'm going to really look at? What is the business impact it can make, right? Without even jumping into this. So we need to know what exactly lying in the back end and what is the purpose really we are going to serve when we look at cognitive capabilities, RPAs and automation, right? So just want to give you some high level facts and figures about the whole connected data, big data, unstructured data, etc. There were 2.3 trillion GB of the data we produce in a day. So the sources is already available in as per the vCloud in 2012, this is the research says, right? 2.3 trillion GB of the data, right? And then as per IBM and IDC research in 2016 and 14, it took 5,000 years to create the data we produce every 1.5 years today. So 5,000 years, and the whole data of 5,000 years getting created in 1.5 years. And every 1.5 years, this data doubles, right? One of the reasons is that we already seen that, how Adam Savage is contributing to that growth, right, in the previous example. So 50 billion number of smart devices are going to be connected. So I say intelligence on the cloud, right? So how the intelligence on the cloud is nothing but the data is on the cloud, which is completely going to be connected. It can be public cloud or private cloud or hybrid cloud, doesn't matter. So there are going to be average 6.7 or 7 connected devices per person in the whole world. Even I think I am already wearing a small health band here, how many steps I am taking a day. At the same time, I am carrying a smartphone which takes away all the data about me, where I am standing today, how many people are surrounded with me, right? And then it can also have the facility to, record without my permission the whole thing what I am talking and send it to somebody. It can take videos without my permission and send it. It can take pictures and send it to somebody. It can do many things, right? So the connected devices are going to really make the difference, right? And that is where RPA and cognitive capabilities are having a lot of importance and opportunities as well. So there are about 44 trillion GBs of the data we are going to create and copy by 2020. So this is a pretty huge data volume. And out of which around 37% of the data is just going to be useful for analytics. So that means 63% of the data is not even ready for any analytics. And today if you look at, we are doing only 0.5, less than 0.5% of the data we are really making analysis. So 99.5% of the data is not even looked at to do what kind of analytics can be done, right? And that is the opportunity when you look at real analytics, cognitive and AI and automation perspective. So who is going to manage this? So this is the opportunity for the real data scientist and cognitive and RPA and AI specialist requirements in the coming days, especially in the US. If you see 250,000 people, they need us data scientists to really manage this 99.5% of the data which is not even touched today, right? If we don't properly manage it, so this is the money we are going to spend to really, manage the business, because we are not efficiently bringing that intelligence out of this 99.5% of the data which is in different format of unstructured or semi-structured format, right? So now coming back to the unstructured data, how do we manage it? What is the relevance of this? So I'm introducing a person called Tom. He's a CEO or executive director of a company, and being an executive, he always wants to take decision, but when it is coming to taking a decision point, and mostly we also like this, right? And one of the reasons why we are in this confused stage is because we have so much of information, we don't know which information to be relayed. It is not about data, we have so much of information. So that is where how cognitive capabilities and AI can help you to take a decision which is going to be more reliable or with more precision, right? When you have so much of data, obviously it is understandable, but when you have so much of information, that is where the precision is going to play a role, right? So there are approximately about 9,000 billion internet pages in the world, right? About 54 high impact social media. When I say 54, it includes Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and many more, right? Millions of review-sized discussion forums, entertainment forums, news articles, e-commerce sites, blogs. All these contribute in the form of unstructured data, right? And about 352 new domains are being registered every minute. So this is data, I think it's almost 2 years back. So if you see all these facts, these are all contributing to the unstructured data. The challenge is how do we build intelligence from that? The biggest challenge is when the data are lying outside our perimeter, right? Outside our organization. So if you look at the outside organization, typically there are probably, the World Wide Web is going to be the biggest contribution. In the World Wide Web, there are three major layers. One is the surface web, where the surface web talks about gives you information when you do a search, which is publicly available, which are indexed for your search and retrieval. Google gives you an option to really search and retrieve the information which is in the surface web. What is deep web? Deep web is nothing but where you need an authentication to really log in and then get access to. So you don't get the data from the external portals without having a login credential. That's what the deep web. For example, IRCTC, when we search, we get the IRCTC homepage, but we don't get our own ticket booking page when we search in the Google. Just give you an example. So there are so many such. LinkedIn, we may get a profile if it is publicly published. So when it is coming to deep web, yes, you need an authentication to log in and then access the content. Around 90% of the data is in the deep web. And then there are about 6% of the data in the dark web. You know dark web, right? Dark web is a network which cannot be accessed in the normal course of usage. You need specific software to really access that, and that contributes about 6% of the data. Now you can see the surface web. What we see, there are millions of sites, right, which contributes only less than 4%. So that is a kind of a data volume which are accessible, straightly accessible, with limited access, with extreme limited access, with a lot of cautions to be taken care. That's how the whole unstructured data is, kept in the external side of it. So we are talking about minimal systems, minimal data points, 10 years back. And we are talking about, instead of 200,000 records, we are talking about 200 million records producing every day. If a telecom company, if you look at 700, 800 million records they produce every day in terms of call detail record. Just to give you an example, right? A global retail chain produces millions of records every second in terms of, point of sale data, right? And we are seeing touchless and humanless or, controlless retail systems. I don't know whether you have seen the Amazon Go in US. I wanted to show you that video, but in the interest of time, I'm not showing. You're getting into a shop, retail shop, and you're taking the system, you're taking the things what you need, and you're just walking out. There is no payment, there is no billing, there is no security, there is no queue, there is no line. So how it is possible? They are using computer visions, they are using IoT, they're using face recognition, right? They're using all these things together to make that seamless customer experience without having any payments, without having any security checks, without having any other constraints, right? So that is how experience is being delivered to the customer. So, but today if you look at, instead of 200 million, you're getting into an age of 20 billion plus records data creating every day, because in the world of IoT, right? In the world of completely connected world, we are creating 20 billion records. And the challenge is that instead of 300, in a large bank, I've seen more than 300 plus softwares and applications which are being running, right? So that 300 becomes internet of everything, right? So you cannot rely upon your own internal systems to really take some decisions and move on, right? So the challenge is that if you look at the data like this, this is the problem of Tom is like this, right? So you look at the data like this, you cannot make any impact. You cannot make any decision. The immediate thing what we are trying to do is we'll try to zoom it, right? And we see still like this, but still we are not able to take a decision. What we need to do is actually convert this complex unstructured data into a meaningful, decision support way, right? Actionable insights. So when we convert this information to an actionable insight model, Tom can take some decision. It is not so easy just the way we run certain queries on the structured data, compared to the unstructured data in the world, right? Can we build some intelligence from the unstructured data like this? So that's what we are trying to see in the slide. So if you look at the unstructured data, as I mentioned, it can come from internet of everything, right? So it can be from our own personal devices, it can come from our government authorities, it can come from our academia, it can come from the social media, it can come from the healthcare departments, it can come from various other sources as well, right? With this information, people are building systems in such a way that, this is one of the examples I want to just highlight. So if you are just landing in one airport, and then if you are at the immigration counter, the immigration officer can deny your entry to that country based on the unstructured data intelligence, what they derive from the data from multiple sources. So I may be having a valid visa, valid ticket, everything. But what this guy is telling, actually this is happening. I don't know whether you read in the news that around 3 months back, Trump is telling your visa will be denied or rejected if you are making any wrong comments about my, constitution. People are monitoring that. So your Amazon purchases, tweet score, location history makes 23.5% welcome here. That means thank you very much, go back, right? And it is happening, I'm just giving you one such examples. It's not only happening in travel or government, it's happening in recruitment, for example. People are no more looking into the biodatas anymore, right? So they'll be looking at your social profile. It's happening in marriages today, at families, right? When we get a proposal, right, what we'll do? Straight away we'll go and look into his Facebook and LinkedIn. What are they doing, right? So that is how the unstructured data is getting an impact, creating an impact, right? And delivering an impact, right? So just look at one case study now. Snowden, right? He leaked thousands of classified documents into the whole public. Now this is in the unstructured format in the uncontrolled environment. Now, how do we know that? How much critical information this guy has got leaked into the whole, 9,000 billion internet pages, and how do we know which are critical, where can we find this and how do we find it? And how it is going to make an impact? And how others are going to use this data and make an impact? How do we know this, right? So this is one typical challenge of unstructured data. How do we leverage it? I'm going to show you some examples. Methodologies, how we can tackle this problem. I just want to introduce some, challenges, typical challenges outside our regular work environment or, scenarios, how unstructured data is getting more relevant and important in the world we are living today, right? Los Angeles Police Department is using unstructured data. And this is quite an old story, I think in 2013 or 14, I think 14 actually. They used all the crime records data, FIR data and crime records data. In India, we have a Crime Records Bureau of India, right? They used all this unstructured crime data and mapped it to predict who is going to commit the next crime in probably 13B Street at 8 p.m. tomorrow. And what kind of crime it is going to be. They are going to start predicting it using the unstructured data in the form of FIR. That's the power, right? So they could reduce around 33% burglaries and 21% of violent crimes they could reduce. Just making the use of unstructured data in the form of FIRs, right? So another example, how do we identify the identity theft or identity fraud? So this is one example. Somebody has created a Facebook profile of Subramanian Swamy, fake profile, and then using it for different propaganda, right? And somebody is trying to create a kind of a riot if I'm looking at it with my bare eyes, right? With the statement what I'm circling here, it's obviously targeting Flipkart and trying to create some anti-national agenda, right? Using a fake ID. So how do you identify this and then prevent this? It can be a national security issue, right? It can be a homeland security issue, right? Who is behind this? How do we find it, right? And that is where unstructured data management is going to be extremely important. Catching Bin Laden from Abbottabad in Pakistan was a clear, proven case of unstructured data management, efficient management of unstructured data and building intelligence from that. It's complete usage of, you have seen that 30 lakh emails sent up and down, right? So I shown in some of the slides. 1 second. CIA and FBI used millions of emails. They started tracking in real time and then collected data points from emails. Thousands of drones which are kept in different parts of Afghanistan and Pakistan and Yemen to pick up signals from the phone calls, track movements of people. It's all unstructured data, right? And they build intelligence to figure out that there is a courier guy who is connected to Bin Laden and where he is traveling to Abbottabad, and finally it cracked it. And email was one of the most important sources where they started the initial connecting points, unstructured data being relevant, right? Another interesting case, in Supreme Court, I think one of the comments they made that we need to block pornography in India, right? Especially the child pornography, right? And then Internet Media and Association, IMA, they were asked to really put a solution for this. And what they came and told the government and the court is that there are billions of sites in the world, and there are hundreds of sites are being rolled out every minute. How do we go and track it? Yes, today with the technology we can track it. Even if somebody is coming with a different domain name, different content, we can track it. We can take it down. And with the whole technology 3-4 years back or 5 years back, they could come with around 1,000+ pornographic domains. They've given it back to the telecom providers to stop it. But the next day they see another 1,500 domains which is alive there, right? So how do you block it really? So, I was running a company prior to my current organization for 4 years on the cognitive area. Using our own crawler, we crawled around more than 14.5 lakh pornographic domain. So where is 1,000 versus 14.5 lakh, right? So how do we really block it? So which is an unstructured problem to solve, right? There are similarly so many such interesting points out there. I think, yeah, this is not. So this is asking a code to enter, conference code to enter. Yeah. Okay, in the meantime, it is getting connected. So we know that, we are seeing that, how all these things coming together. The emails, the drones, right? No, it's not. Yep. The drones. You can use the drones for good purposes like delivering medicines, right? In Kerala flood, drones could have been a real big saver. I don't know how efficiently we use there, but still, you can drop medicine, you can drop food items. But imagine a situation if drones are being used for other purposes. But how do we control? Right? How do we control the data which is going to be produced in the form of unstructured and semi-structured data? Right? But companies are really trying to get hand and hold of it. These are some of the technologies which are used by NSA to really crack this down. Some of the technologies, what they used to really crack down right from Bin Laden to Los Angeles Police Department, right? This information, again, publicly available information. There are technologies and softwares which are already installed in our laptops and mobile phones without our permission, without anybody's permission, which is tracking and taking data for various purposes. Nobody is going to monitor like a human person is reading our emails, but there is a software which is reading with whatever the second factor authentication we do, whatever the security measures we put in place, somebody is still reading it, somebody is still taking it. And these are the technologies, even in a video cam call, in a webcam call, somebody is seeing that. In an email when we send, somebody is reading that, right? So these are, there are drones which are collecting data. There are softwares which are collecting data from network, endpoints, laptops, etc. Right? When it is coming to unstructured data, this is what how long I have?
Just
2 more minutes. Okay. Now this is the most interesting part. How do we get really this unstructured data tamed and managed, right? So if you look at the Google and then try to retrieve some unstructured data which is outside our network, whatever the search we do, you can see that millions of results, some around 3.8 million results delivered in 0.41 seconds. What kind of intelligence we can build from this, right? It's extremely difficult. And this is where we need technologies and tools to really crawl, collect and extract information the way we wanted to analyze and then build intelligence on, right? Even if you search Google, you can see 3.8 million records. At the 17th page, after 160 result, it is saying no more relevant result. What happened to that 3.8 million or 3.4 million result? When you search, you can see on the top of the Google, you can see that 3 so much of million records. But when you really go to down the pages, after 16th page, you don't get your 17th page. After 30th page, you don't get any information. So you are not even able to really find out what beyond this 160 results out there, right? And that is where we need to have technologies which can really collect, extract, analyze and build intelligence. So there are open source technologies and there are crawlers which you can use. For example, Lucene is a crawler plus an indexing tool which Google uses. Nutch and Heritrix, there are crawlers which can crawl data or search and crawl data from multiple different sources, especially from the internet world. If you want to really crawl data, you can configure these tools to do crawling. But the thing is that if you don't properly crawl, you get 98% of the time junk data. If I need Sachin Tendulkar financial information, when I do a search, 99% I get all the data about Sachin Tendulkar cricket related data. But I am interested to know how much money he is paying as tax, how much money he is invested in his apartment in Mumbai, all the financial related information, but I don't get in my direct search. And that is where you need to do different search mechanisms and search queries to precision your search. And then you need to eliminate a lot of noise, right? So you need to do different filters which will filter the unwanted data like parking sites, top word, banned sites, spam sites, etc. from the external sources. And you need to have different parsers which you can bring in data from different type of files. Some files are going to be in the form of PDF files, HTML files in the thing. How do we extract information from that? And third thing is that when we extract information, we need to make sure that the grammatical qualification is taken care of. Just want to give you one example. I am saying to you that I am planning to buy a mobile from Flipkart versus I am telling you, if you want to buy a mobile, buy from Flipkart. to unstructured content, right? If you look at the content and words, 96% is nothing but the same words, but meaning is totally different. And how we make the machine understand is the critical thing, right? Machine can understand typically by words, but if you don't make the machine to understand the grammatical side of it, it will miss. And that is where we need to apply grammatical algorithms to really, make sure that machine understand the context behind the content. And then third thing is that how do we extract intelligence from this, right? How do we extract intelligence? We need to extract data which are relevant. So we call it as entity, right? Every data point is an entity. Entity extraction. So we need to have entity extractions like the names, places, designations, locations, etc. And then we need to map the entities. So we need to have relationship mapping. So there are so many classification, clustering algorithms available to make sure that these entities are extracted and then connected to really get that data points together, right? When we get the data points together, these are some of the use cases really we can leverage. I think this is my last slide. Yes, this is my last slide. These are some of the use cases where I think relevant for your companies as well. As an individual, maybe something relevant for us as well, right? Non-financial reporting is one of the most emerging requirements for global corporates today. Non-financial reporting, right? And how do we get that? Is non-financial reporting, you mean to say that what is the market doing? How the market is doing, right? What is our competition doing? And syndicated data research is another area, due diligence research, market intelligence, especially from a marketing angle, brand analytics, right? The lead generation, sentiment analysis, customer analysis, competitive benchmarking, marketing effectiveness, all these areas where the largest data in the form of unstructured data and how do we leverage it, right? Vulnerability and risk intelligence and fraud prevention. You already showcased some examples there. Cyber intelligence, e-discovery and enterprise KYC. These are really emerging topics where we use unstructured data and then build intelligence on. Cyber defense and threat intelligence, which is one of the most important and ever-growing domain in the unstructured data space. So these are some of the use cases where probably as a company you may be interested to see how unstructured data can be leveraged. And so those are some of the data points I want to share with you. Any quick questions anybody has from the slide? Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. It was a great pleasure to be here and share my knowledge, and thank you 1.2 gigawatts for sharing this opportunity. Thank you very much.